Hi, students. This is Dr. Weaver, and um, I am trying to go ahead and create a orientation video for 1650 Adult Health 2. So welcome to 1650 Adult Health 2. One of the reasons I am doing a virtual orientation is because I don't want to take up any precious lecture time doing an orientation in class next Wednesday. So I thought it would be better to go ahead and do this now, and that way you can listen to this video. Hopefully it would be a whole lot shorter than it would be if I was actually doing it in class. In class, it usually or traditionally has taken roughly 2, maybe 3 hours. I think the last time I did something like this, it may have lasted less than 50 minutes. So this is something that can go a whole lot faster. And of course, on the day that we meet next week, on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we can almost immediately go into our lecture. So anyway, so that's the reason why I am doing this virtual or voiceover orientation, I should say. Again, I am Dr. Weaver, and I am one of the Term 5 didactic instructors who will be teaching you Med-Surg 2. So as far as my background, I have been a nurse for about, well, let me just say, so as not to date myself, more than 25 years. I'll say it that way. I have worked in several different areas in the clinical setting, be that Med-Surg, the medical and surgical intensive care unit, the emergency department. I also did some home health care. One thing you'll notice about nursing is that there's so many different areas that we can actually work in. It's just not confined to the bedside. I also worked in corporate America for almost 20 years as a utilization review nurse, as well as a short-term disability nurse as well. I went to FCCJ. It was FCCJ way back when. FCCJ for my AS degree. So did the same thing you guys are doing now. My initial degree was an AS degree, Associate in Science and Nursing. I did finish my AA at what became FSCJ. And then I transferred to Jacksonville University, where I finished my undergrad, my bachelor's degree. From there, I was actually supposed to go back to JU to get my nursing education, master's in nursing education degree, but didn't really particularly care for their curriculum at the time. So due to a recommendation from an acquaintance, if you will, she told me about the University of Southern Indiana, which is located in Evansville, Indiana. I did peruse their website, looked at their program and whatnot, and decided to go to USI, the abbreviation, for my master's degree in nursing education. That program was about 4.5 years, I believe. It was a part-time MSN program. I finished that up and loved the school so much, I decided to continue and I did receive a doctorate from the University of Southern Indiana. So that's pretty much my background. So it is pretty varied. And so I think that sort of makes me qualified to teach adult health too. And I hope you feel the same. Um, this course will continue to teach you about diseases and disorders that impact the human body. You started this process in Adult Health 1 with Professor Fletcher, and obviously you continue the same with me, learning about diseases and disorders. You will also have an Adult Health 3, but we actually call it multi-organ systems, which is in term 7. Um, that particular course rather deals with the more complex disease processes. For example, when you were in Adult Health 1, you guys studied, for example, diabetes. Well, that's diabetes without complications. All right. So when you take multi-organ systems, term 7, you will look at the complications of this disorder, such as DKA or diabetes ketoacidosis, and also what we call HANC or hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, or HHS, I think is another name we refer to this disorder. So it is imperative that you guys really understand these disease processes very, very well, because it does get more complicated as you go forward. So I would encourage you to not just gloss over the information, but to make sure you thoroughly understand what we are teaching you. And I'll get into that a little more as well. I got a little soapbox I have to get on. So you'll know when I get on it. I'm kind of passionate about the soapbox. Well, yeah, so let me get this out of the way before I say anything else. Anyone who have decided, well, this is kind of the soapbox here. Anyone who have decided that they are going to do this skimming in the readings in this course, instead of doing a thorough reading of the material, is going to have a very tough time passing the HESI. You're going to have a difficult time passing the NCLEX, which is the ultimate test that you all would take before you get your license. You are going to have to read in this course. Actually, in this program, you really should have been reading instead of skimming. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. You're going to have to read your assigned readings. Cramming for tests are futile because you're just going to dump the information the next day after you take your test, and you're going to basically dump the information right after the exam. This you cannot do because in nursing, you will see this information again and again. Your previous learnings are a kind of a foundation that you will have to build upon. So cramming for a test and then taking your test and then dumping the information, it will come back to haunt you. That's pretty much my soapbox for the most part. You do not want to cram this information. You're going to have to do the readings. All right. So you guys will be taking at least two classes this term. You'll be taking Adult Health 2 with me, and of course you will be taking Mental Health with Professor Thody. So let me give you a quick example about how you can make your readings a whole lot easier and get it done. So obviously you're going to have your readings in my class, and of course in Professor Thody's class, you will also have some readings to do for her course. So let's say today is Wednesday, your lecture day. So pretty much we'll be testing weekly. So every Wednesday you will have a test. So let's say between, let's say my class, and this is just to make it a little easier. Let's say in my class, you have 40 pages to read, all the topics that we'll be covering. And let's say if she has 40 pages also for you to read. So that's 80 pages. So from Wednesday until, let's say, next Tuesday, that's about roughly 6-7 days. So what you want to do is divide the number of pages, divide the number of days into the total number of pages. And that's how many pages you should be reading each day. All right. So that means, well, again, to make it easier, let's say you have 30 pages between both our classes, and you have 6 days. So 6 into 30 is 5. So that's 5 pages. So if you divide that, if it was evenly divided, I know it won't be, but if it was divided between my course and mental health, that's 2.5 pages. So each day you should be reading 2.5 pages for adult health 2 and 2.5 pages for mental health. Obviously, we know it will be much more than that, but that's just to give you an idea. The reason you want to do it that way is, first of all, you don't want to overwhelm yourself or yourselves. You want to be able to take in the information, all right? You don't want to do all this cramming and rushing and trying to just gloss over it and whatnot, but you want to take your time, you want to take some notes and those kinds of things. And that way, and so that you can read for understanding, for comprehension, and not just to memorize. Memorization is a no-go. You need to work or approach this in a way that you are trying to comprehend it. You must comprehend this information. There's a difference, all right? If I said 10 words to someone if I told them to tell me what they understand of what I just said, and they just mentioned the 10 words back, well, that's not showing me that you understand. You just remember what I said and you're giving me the same thing that I just gave you. But if they had to give me 5 words back, but they said it in their own words, then that's comprehension, provided they actually understand what I just said. Anyway, so my point is, you have to understand, and there's some things you do have to memorize, but much of this information you will have to understand. Because you're going to have to carry this information from this term going forward, all right, all the way into NCLEX. And if you, again, cram, take a test, dump the information, you're going to have a very difficult time. And I cannot reiterate that point no more than what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to warn you, don't do it. Please don't do it. You would do yourselves a disservice, all right? And I know you're probably saying, that's just too much reading. I just don't like to read. You know what? Let me say this. You may have to read it 2 or 3 times. All right. When I was in grad school, actually throughout my, except the ASN program, because most of the time when I was in school, I did work 2 jobs. But what I'm saying to you is, sometimes I couldn't just read a chapter once and get it. Sometimes I had to go back at it again. And depending on the complexity of the information, I may have had to do it 3 times. So especially when you begin to really climb the academic ladder, sometimes these classes, they get a little more complicated. So don't fret, because of the fact that you may have to read something 2 or 3 times. The goal is to get an understanding, comprehend the information. reading your textbooks will enable you to do much better on your HESIs. All right. You don't want to score in the 300s and 400s, 500s, 600s, 700s on your HESIs. You want to hit those 800s, 900s, 1000s. All right. That's what you want to do. And of course, with the new rules in place, the new policy in place about grading and in particular the HESI, which we'll go over as well, you cannot be scoring low on these HESIs anymore. Otherwise, you won't get credit. So, but we'll get into that. So let's go over the syllabus at this time. There are some pretty major changes, and you really need to give heed to them. I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop. I'm going to share the syllabus with you all. Uh, 1650. All right. So this is 1650, Adult Health 2. As you can see here, there are 135 clinical hours that you all would have to have. So you'll be with me, not the Monday coming, but the Monday after, but you'll be with Professor Wittenkeller for, I think it's, let's see, 5 and 4, maybe 9-hour days, 12-hour days with me from 7 to 7, and about 9-hour days with her. And this will be on campus, of course. There's 45 hours total per lecture. So we'll be lecturing for 4.5 hours every Wednesday. You don't have a lab here. This is a 6 credit hour course. So this is quite a bit of hours. I mean, you guys are in an accelerated program. So this is not for the faint of heart. So I commend you all for, doing a accelerated program. So some of the textbooks that you would need both volumes of Iggy or Ignatavicius here. You need volume 1 as well as volume 2. You will also need your Mosby drug guide because you all will be testing on quite a few of the medications that you had already learned in pharmacology. You will be seeing those again. And much of that information actually comes from Mosby's. I say Mosby's, but I think it's Mosby's. Also, you need to have your Saunders Comprehensive NCLEX book as well for your NCLEX review. You can actually access that online. I should be able to show you how to access that as well. And we'll talk about that more in terms of the advantages of that particular resource. All right. So those are the textbooks I wanted you to be aware of. These are your course outcomes. You can go ahead and take a look at that when you get a chance. All right. So look at the method of evaluation grid here. This has changed. All exams must be at least 78%. Well, let me back up. All of your exams, when combined, you have 3 exams total, and they have to be at least 78, and have to average out to be 78%. All right. And in order for you to get credit for these other assignments, like the quizzes and your other assignments, your remediation and so forth, in order for you to get those credits, you have to have 78% combined on all of your exams. So let's say if you have an 80, a 78, and a 79. If you average those out, and I don't have a calculator on me right now, but it probably comes out to be roughly about 79%, right? Maybe some decimal. So in order for you to get credit for, again, your quizzes, your EAQs, HESI, case studies, and so forth, you're going to have to, those three exams are going to have to average out to be 78%. All right. So this means you cannot have, if you, in essence, if you go into your last exam, and whatever you make on that exam, you don't have that minimum 78%, then you won't get credit for these other assignments. That can hurt you a lot. Let's say if you end up with a 76, all right? Now it is possible that you can take your HESI and it can pull you up a bit. But even with that, you have to make a minimum score. So always kind of reaching for the stars, if you will. Last term, quizzes were worth 10%, they're now 8%. Assignments, for example, your HESI, case studies, and your EAQs, they were 10%, and they're now 7%. Your proctored midterm HESI is now 3% instead of 5%. As far as your remediation, your remediation that you have to do from the final exam you took, final HESI you took last term, that's worth 2%, weighted at 2%. And then the midterm you take in my class will also be worth 2%, for a total of 4% altogether. All right. And then, of course, your clinical assessment is pass or fail. So you certainly want to take your clinical assignment or your clinical, that part of your course, you want to take that serious. Don't just show up and, not participate, and do whatever the work that is required of you. All right. Now, one of the reasons why well, you know what, I'll get to that in maybe just a few more minutes or so. All right, so we already went over the methods of evaluation, so you got that, and these numbers have changed. Let's see, so, and I want to also mention, as far as your clinical is concerned, you need to show up on time because we will have to send you to the ADON's office, who might send you home if you don't show up on time, and then you have to end up making that time up. And some of the activities that we have for you to make up, believe me, you don't want to do. I know there are some extenuating circumstances, but you don't want to miss any clinical if you don't have to. Now, in Term 5, let me scroll down a bit more. So this is your proctored final HESI exam, all right? Your final proctor, final HESI conversion score for Term 5 has to be at minimum 70, all right? And if it is not, you will receive a 0 and will essentially result in failure of the course. Remember, this your HESI, your final HESI is worth a lot of points. It's weighted quite heavily. So you do not want to score less than 70. Otherwise, again, you'll receive a 0, and I don't want that for any of you. All right, let's see. Now, I know many of you will say, how is it possible that, we're asking you to hit a higher mark on your HESI? All right. And much of this is comes from the fact that you sometimes have these students who, for example, they have a 95% average in the class, right, going into the HESI. And so then they ask the instructor, they say, well, what do I need to make on the HESI to get a 78% in this class? In other words, they're not going to put too much effort in the HESI. All they want is a 78%, although they're sitting at a 95% average. If they make a 78%, they're just satisfied with that. Sometimes people have made much lower. They scored quite a bit less on the HESI, and even though they went into it with that 95 average, it brought their grade down so much to the point that they didn't pass the class. And also, when you're taking the HESI is a predictor. It lets us know how well you're doing and how poorly you're doing. If we know about those areas where you need some help, then we can implement some strategies that can help strengthen those weak areas. So you can't go into the HESI with this attitude of what do I need to make to just pass the class, because this is not an ordinary test. Again, the test predicts how well you will do on your NCLEX examination. And so we have to raise the bar on the HESI to make sure you give it your all. And that way, when we analyze the data on you individually, then we can determine where your weaknesses are and make sure we give you the help that you need. So then you say, well, how on earth am I going to do well on this HESI? And I hardly ever do well on the HESI. And I would say the way to fix this is to read. All right. You have to read. Reading will improve your critical thinking skills. It will enhance your decision-making skills. It will improve your comprehension and your endurance. Because, you know, some of you may have to sit there taking your NCLEX or even a HESI for that matter, or any test. You may have to sit there for a while, you know, and so the reading will improve your endurance. You won't get so tired. You know how it is when you get tired, then you start making poor judgment calls. All right. So this will help improve your HESI scores, and it is also needed as far as this reading to ultimately allow you to pass your NCLEX. Again, skimming is not going to cut it. It's last semester, I put out an announcement. It was a fairly long announcement about skimming and how it is a no-go. And of course, when I'm sitting down counseling students, when they do poorly on exams, they say, "Oh yeah, I was skimming here and there and so forth." And I'm thinking to myself, did you even read the announcement? All right. So 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to tell me that they skimmed, or they didn't have time to read, or they didn't have time to do anything in preparation for the exam. I hope that's not any of you, but we'll see. All right. Let us talk about now. So we know for term 5, you have to score at least minimum 70. You have to have a conversion score of at least 70. Otherwise, you will earn a 0, which is here. And you will have to take the course again. So let's jump on this reading thing now. Let's not wait. Let's see, where are we now? Now this is your grade calculation. Nothing has changed here. 93 to 100 is an A, 85 to 92 is a B, and so forth. So just take a look at that information. All right. Let's see. So remember, so you have to have at least a 78% when you average out all the exams, not the quizzes, but the exams. But don't purposely not do well on your quizzes either, because you may need those too. if we can combine them or average them out to give you a much better grade. But your exam is what we're focused on as far as you need at least a 78%. I hope you can get a 78% or higher on everything, quizzes or exams. But for the purpose of your syllabus, you need an average of 78% plus a 70 on your conversion score in order for, in order to get all the points that you work for. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about the EAQs. So let me speak to your EAQs. I have decided to limit the amount of questions you have to do on the EAQs in order to ensure that you have time to do what? Time to read. All right. So I have capped them between 20 to 60 EAQs per week. Most of them are between 20 to 40, I believe, and you may have a couple of weeks in there where you may have to go up as high as 60, especially like cardiac. That's a very difficult, well, not a difficult topic, but it's a lengthy topic. And so, which will require a few more questions than normally. But again, so you'll have no more than about 60 in any given week. All right. And again, I did this so that you would not be overwhelmed with so many EAQs and, you know, this thing just keeps going on and on and on. I want you to get a taste, get a sample of what the questions will look like, because these questions, they mimic or mirror what you might see on the NCLEX. So I do want you to get a taste or sample of the questions. However, I'm not diminishing the amount of EAQs so that you can slack off on the reading. All right. I'm diminishing the amount of EAQs so that you have time to do your reading. All right. So do not neglect in using this time to get ahead, all right, and do what is required of you. And again, reading is a major part of this. All right, I promise you, if you don't take this time to read, and you hear me say that a lot, you're going to regret it. I promise you. Think about this. All right, this is a good example. So, and I'm not sure if you all know this. When you get to term, I think you all have to go, well, you'll probably have to go to term 8, but in term 7, I believe, is when you have to do what we call an exit HESI. And so what does the exit HESI entail or involve? It involves everything you've learned since you've been in this program, everything, right? If you don't study the way you're supposed to from day one until you take that test, how are you going to pass it? You probably won't pass it. You will see all this previous information again. What you learned in fundamentals, what you learned in pharmacology, what you learned in Adult Health 1, you will see it again. Even on your HESI, for my Adult Health 2 HESI, you'll see these things again. You're going to see something about diabetes. Even though I don't cover diabetes in this term, you're going to see it again. All right, so please do not think that just because you completed fundamentals and pharmacology that you won't see this information again. It will come back to haunt you. If you don't give it your all now. All right. So the better you score on the HESI, that's another thing I wanted to say to you. So the better you score on the HESI, the less remediation package you have to do. Last term, one of the students scored 1,100 and something, I believe, and had 3, I think, essential packets to do. On the other hand, somebody might score a 500 and have 30 packets to do. Students, put in the time now. You know, lessen the amount of packets you have to do. And by the way, your remediation from the final exam from Adult Health 1 has to be done before 10/24. It comes from the final that you took last term. After each HESI, you will have to achieve at least a 10% on each of the packets to receive the grade of 100%. All right. So let's say you have 10 essentials, and let's say you only got, you achieved 78% or better on each of those, because it has to be 78% or better to get the full 10%. And I know that might be confusing, but you have to score at least 78% on your packets, all right, or above. That will give you 10% on each of those packets. And if you did that with all 10, it would give you 100%. But let's say if 8 of those packets you got the 10%, and the other 2 maybe you got under 78%, so you didn't get the full 10%. You can then go into your recommended packets, and in other words, we want, whether it's a combination of essentials, always make sure you do your essentials first, but you may have to add some recommended if you don't achieve that 10% per packet. Sometimes that's hard to do, and I'll tell you why. And you all probably have encountered this already. If you took HESI Next Gen, they might give you one question for the pre-test, post-test. It's the post-test that we are concerned about more so. And you know, you may answer that question wrong. That's a zero. That's a zero. If there's only 2 questions, then you only got 1 wrong. Another one right, then that's 50%. So we're giving you an opportunity to, if you don't get the 78% or better, just go into your recommended packets, and there should be a total of 10 essential, recommended, in case you don't get all of the essentials over 78%. It'll be a combination of essentials and recommended. All right. Let's see, I already sent out the requirements for clinical. I have posted that in the announcement, and I also sent that through Outlook. Your clinical instructor, as you all know, is Professor Wittenkeller, and of course myself. I'll be doing a lecture and your 12-hour clinical, as I mentioned earlier. All right. Let's see, so we already talked about, we talked about the grading scale here. And we talked about the conversion score of 70, talked about the EAQs. Let's see. All right, let me go ahead and show you all, actually, let me see if I have the schedule. All right, so let me say this. This schedule here, please do not pay this any attention. All right, I've already did a revised schedule. And let me show you what it looks like. Let me stop sharing here. Let's see, schedule. So I wanted you all to see what this looks like. All right. So I'm going to share with you the your schedule that you should be perusing. I've already sent this to you all. So the way you read this, this is week 1, 10/12. This is the dates. All of these dates here, 10/12, 10/19. 10/26, all of these are Mondays. All right. We're doing the orientation now. Now, so this would be your chapter readings here. It's see readings here, right? This is Ignatius, chapter 34, 35, right? Those are the pages there. And also Ignatius chapter 35 again and 36. All right, chapter 35 and 36. And you're going to be tested on aneurysm, cardiomyopathy, basic EKG, dysrhythmias, heart failure, endocarditis, and pericarditis. I think I pushed this one to the next exam. So, but these are the items that, what you'll be testing on. I can't. Anyway, you guys see that. All right, here's the syllabus receipt. Once you all review this video, I would like for you to go under, I believe it's quizzes. It's in your course tile. Go under quizzes and scroll all the way down to the bottom and do your acknowledgement, your behavioral acknowledgement, as well as your syllabus acknowledgement as well. Here you have your EAQs here, chapter 35. And this is not due until the second week, and it is always due on a Monday, 10/19 before midnight. So that's homework one. It kind of goes diagonal, right? You see my cursor? It goes diagonal. All right. Same here with homework two, which consists of EAQ 36, which it'll be due on the 26th, the Monday of the 26th. Now, as far as your first exam, this exam is supposed to be given in the second week, but I pushed it to the third week because it's a lot of information. So your exam will consist of chapter 35, 34, 35, and 36. And you can see that here in red, chapter 34, 35, and 36. All right. And so once we're done with that exam, well, actually, on that day you take the exam, we'll be lecturing on circulation, which involves Raynaud's phenomenon, transfusion therapy, the anemias, leukemias, coagulation disorders, and the renal system here, right? And so your first quiz would be chapter 39, 40, 67, and 68, right? And here it tells you what chapters you'll be tested on. 39, 40, 67, 68. These are all the topics here. And here, circulation and cellular regulation. All right. I may go ahead and put this information back with this group, but we'll see. Because this can be pretty heavy. Actually here, we won't be looking at acute renal failure. You'll get that in multi-systems, all right? So we'll be looking at chronic renal failure. I should also mention that your HESI case studies, I'll have those due on maybe Saturday. Yeah, maybe Saturday before midnight. I think I usually pick Friday as the day to complete it, but you know, Friday, Saturday, you know, maybe Saturday. I will. You'll have to do the first one next Saturday. All right, and this is a heart failure, atrial fibrillation, which is a good one. It pertains to what we are looking at. So again, so over to the right side here, you will see when your homeworks are due, your exams and what chapters they involve, the quizzes and what they involve. Let's see, so your exams, your quizzes. Now, in week 8 is when your practice HESI will be administered. The 8th week, all right? And then if you scroll down further, well, in the 9th week, you'll have your quiz 3, right? And then you jump over here to week 10, December 14th, you have your final HESI in the last week of the semester, all right? Students, you want to study each week. Now let me re-emphasize this. I almost wish I can stand on a chair so you can see my emphasis. Study strong from week to week. Your study should be intense from week to week. Because once you get to your HESIs, you don't want to have to go back and study intensely all that information again because it's just too much. Our week to week is kind of like you're taking it in bits and pieces. It's more tolerable. You can digest it better. All right. It's more palatable, right? So don't lightly prepare for these HESIs, or you have this light preparation up to the HESI, and then trying to go back to look at all that information because it's just too much. You guys had better look at this information intensely day one, actually before day one, because you all should know what your readings are at this point. Same with your final. You don't want to get to the final and have to go back and try to intensely look at 9 weeks of information. Don't do it. Because at least if you study intensely now, by the time you get to the 8th week, the only thing you're going back and doing is reviewing. Same with the 10th week, your final HESI. The only thing you're going back and doing is reviewing. You should not be testing intensely. Excuse me. When you're taking your midterm and your final. That should already have been done. So I'm trying to give you those pointers so you don't sabotage yourselves. All right. Let's see. I talked about the case studies. You have about, I want to say maybe 7 of those, perhaps, maybe 9. I don't quite remember. Your EAQs are due every Monday before midnight. You talked about your midterm and your final HESI. All right. And so I got all that. Now, all right. All right, so let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment. And I want to show you the modules. All right, show you the modules. Let me go ahead and start sharing this one again. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. All right. So to get to your modules, you go to your dashboard, of course, and you go into your class tile. Fortunately, we only have one. That usually doesn't happen. We typically have at least 2, sometimes 3. So you all know how this is set up. You have your modules, your announcements. I do the announcements in the HESI cohort tile, but I'm not sure if that comes over to the course tile. But you have your modules, your grades, you have your quizzes and so forth. So you'll be accessing those. So let's go into modules. Let me show you this too. So this is the front page. This gives you a description of the course. These are your instructors, myself. I do respond to either Dr. Weaver or Professor Weaver, either one. I do not respond to Mr. This is a college program that you're in, and we have to treat it as such. So I'm big on the formalities, right? Let's see. My office hours vary, so I don't know if I would pay that a whole lot of attention, but it does vary. If you need to speak to me, or if you just feel like just texting, let me know who you are, and that way I know who I'm talking to. And these are the clinical that you can see here as well. I think this one may have changed for Professor Wittenkeller. I think you will be going to her up until week 5. All right. And of course, this is my email here. I skipped over that. All right. So let's go ahead into the modules, and I want to show you how I have that set up. Yours may be slightly different the way you see it. Well, you know what? Let me show you guys that HESI Saunders book. It's right here. The adult health. No, that's not it. Oh, it's here. Evolve Resource for Medical Surgical Nursing, which is here. And then you will click on, I want to say, is it student resources? I may have that wrong. Nope, I think I have that wrong. I think it's instructor resources. Did something change? All right, it seems like something may have changed. I hope not. Test bank. All right, so it might be students. Might be student resources. All right, so it appears something may have changed. That oh, you know what? That's not true. Um, I think I usually show you guys this to show you how to access the concept maps. And this is how you access concept maps here. All right. So I'll show you that real quickly since I'm here. This is a concept map. I'm not sure how many of these you all did in your previous classes, but we might do some concept maps. I think they're very good educational tools. The other resource I wanted to show you is actually in the HESI cohort tile, so I'll go to that as well. My apologies. So let's go back. All right, let's go back to the modules. So that's how you get to the, right here. This is how you would get to your concept maps. So this is module week 1. All right. Now, let me tell you all something. In the discipline of nursing, there is a ton of information to go over. All right. And an instructor cannot provide all that information to you in one setting. In order for us to get, it would be impossible to give you everything anyway. But in order for us to give you even a significant amount of it, you would be in class for a very long time listening to lectures. All right. So I have taken the liberty of not only creating PowerPoints with some extensive notes in them, and I'll show you that, but I've also did voiceovers. So whatever I don't get to go over in class, then you have the voiceovers to take a look at. So let me show you one of my, so this is module 1, week 1. And so a lot of this is cardiac, of course. So let's say if we go into dysrhythmia care, all right? And then you click on this link here. And this is my PowerPoint on dysrhythmias, which we'll be going over, by the way. Now, all right, you see these 3 dots, ellipses down here, where my mouse is kind of circling. If you left click on that and you push that up, you'll see all the notes here. So let me show you what the notes would look like if I arrow down on each slide. It's not a whole lot there, but as you go down further, you'll begin to see that there are more and more notes for you to read. Some have more, some have less. As you can see, these have a moderate amount, but that one has a little more. All right, so this is where you will find my notes. In this section, I've had students who, when they opened up the PowerPoint, it was open like this, and they were just reading the PowerPoint slide, but they were not reading the notes because they didn't know the notes were there. So I'm telling you now, they are here. So in the 8th week, I don't want to hear, we didn't know that the notes were in the PowerPoint slides. Don't do that because they are, right? Now that's dysrhythmia care. Now, let me show you also, let's see. So this is a YouTube video or a voiceover because I couldn't get to everything in that section. So you can click on this image here. You probably can't hear it, but when you open it up at home or wherever, when you're driving or whatever the case is, you'll be able to hear my voice. but this is the PowerPoint voiceover on the rest of the dysrhythmia information. Because sometimes what I would do, I would go over so much of, let's say, CHF in class, and then the rest of it will be on a voiceover. All right. And you also, again, you have the notes as well. All right. Now, for cardiac, there's also some EKG information for you to look at as well. These are different rhythms that will teach you about how to read your rhythms, which we'll talk about as well. But this is a good resource for you all. You know, y'all notice what that is, asystole. All right. Let's see. So as we study each of the topics for your exams or quizzes, you'll look at them by way of the weeks. Now, right here, where it says cardiac, this is probably where I did a lecture maybe a couple of terms ago, and talking about I think I talked about CHF on this one. So if anything ever happens and we can't come to class for whatever reason, you guys still have the presentation. You'll see some other students in here, but that's fine. So yeah, I think this one talked about. All right, so I did some drawings in that particular class. So you always have these resources at your disposal that you can look at. And it pretty much covers everything that my PowerPoints cover, everything that you're going to see on your exams and your quizzes. All right. And of course, your readings and all those kinds of things, they will help you to be successful. Right here is the schedule itself. All right. So if you click on it, it'll give you the same schedule that I just showed you. So sometimes students ask me, what chapters are we going to be covering for the first exam? And it's right here, right? So you shouldn't have to ask me something that you can read for yourself. All right. I do believe in making students go and get the information themselves. All right. Sometimes you may have to upload an assignment for either myself or Professor Wittenkeller. And so I designated in, like, let's say if it's week 1, and you can upload your work for her in this clinical tool. And this is in the clinical, of course. If you go to a week, well, don't pay attention to week 2. But if you do have to upload an assignment for me or her, I have our names right next to the clinical tool. In week 3, we're looking at cellular regulation and renal system. And so you'll be looking at your hematologic disorders, sickle cell, CKD, nephrotic syndrome, and so forth. I have a combination of voiceovers as well as just regular PowerPoint presentations. For example, in this one, AKI and CKD, I was teaching AKI before, but we decided in the curriculum committee that term 7 would teach you that, and I'll teach you the more chronic disorder, which is chronic renal failure. And as you can see here, if you raise up the note section, here again, you see all these notes. CKD is a very long chapter. It'll probably take me the whole period to get this information over to you. So this is all the information, that same information in your textbooks, all right? So again, combination of voiceovers and regular PowerPoints is what you will see in these areas. Right here, renal transplant, I wasn't able to get to that one in class because again, as I told you, chronic renal failure is very, very long. All right, so if you click on that one, it talks about kidney transplant. All right, so that's pretty simple. I mean, you're either going to read the PowerPoints. You can always read the PowerPoints, but then there are those sections where you can listen to the voiceover also. All right. Then you have your week 4 and all the topics that are covered in those areas. I realized I had to do more voiceovers because again, some of these topics they can drag on. Heart failure is one of those topics that can take the whole class time, and we only have 4.5 hours to lecture. So, but the information you will still have. There's the immune system in week 6, the GI system in week 7, neurology in week 8, and all of these resources, your PowerPoints as well as your voiceovers. And in the week 9 is musculoskeletal. These do not have, or this week doesn't have, or the topic musculoskeletal, I don't have a voiceover. So this is something you have to read. All right. So that's how we access the PowerPoints and within the modules. Now, as far as, let me go back to the dashboard. That resource, the HESI Saunders or the Saunders resource. If you go, let me go back. So if you click on the HESI cohort tile and you go all the way down here to additional resources, and more specifically, Evolve resources for Saunders, comprehensive review for NCLEX. Just click on it. And then you click on this link here. I hope I'm still sharing this. All right, and then you just click on this. No? Oh, wait a minute, I did the wrong thing. Well, no, I shouldn't have. Resource. Oh, here it is. So I don't know why this is looking so different to me. I think it's exam review. That's it. All right, exam review. And then you click on continue. And then you can test yourself. Always go, you want to be in study mode. Well, not all the time, but at there are times you want to be in study mode. You either want to look at your client needs. These are the different content areas that you're tested on in NCLEX, on your NCLEX. So this will be good for you to just test yourself on these areas. You can also go to your integrated processes. There's a PowerPoint presentation, a voiceover that I'm going to send you all to listen to, and it gives a breakdown of the NCLEX exam, which is how we're supposed to test you as well. So the integrated processes, it deals with the nursing process, caring and communication documentation and so forth, so you can test yourself in these areas as well. As far as content area, you can come here to adult health. If you want to look at something in cardiovascular, you click on it and you click on begin session. It gives you 146 questions. And let's say well, gives you these questions here and you answer them. Let's say I'm just going to answer any one of them. Probably wrong, but I'm right. All right. So you read your question, you answer, tells you whether it's correct or incorrect, give you a check mark next to the correct ones. You click on rationale. This is very important because you want to know what your rationales are. The beautiful thing about this particular resource, it tells you what level, what cognitive level you're at. And this one is analyzing. If you look at Bloom's taxonomy, you go from the lowest level of thinking to the highest level of thinking, and analyzing is one of those higher level thinking. On state boards, you guys will be tested at the application level. That's kind of like midway. They don't test you on comprehension per se and remembering. That's lower level thinking. But analysis, application, analysis, evaluation, creativity, all those at the higher level of thinking. And it's called Bloom's taxonomy. And you guys need to be testing at the application level when you leave this program, because that's what you're going to see on NCLEX. This tells you what client needs you're dealing with, which is physiological integrity. This tells you what integrated process you're dealing with. And again, once you get that voiceover, you'll understand why these components are so important. And so these are some of the priority concepts here: perfusion and safety. So this is a really great resource. for you all. So I would definitely go into this resource, and let's say if you go into, I know you probably say we have enough EAQs to do, but remember, I'm not giving you a whole lot. So if you want to go in here and maybe do 20 of them, 10, maybe 20 a day, I would do that. And especially look at these different categories, this cognitive ability, whether you're analyzing or applying or creating or evaluating. So it goes from, well, this seems to be out of order, but it's supposed to be applying, analyzing, actually synthesizing and creating is supposed to be together. And anyway, I don't know why they got it like this. But anyway, so if you want to know what a question looks like when you're analyzing, you click on that one. Or if you want to know what it looks like if you're applying a concept, you click on that one. Or creating, and so forth and so on. It just gives you examples. We'll look at one at a time. Want to look at what it looks like to apply a concept. Then you click on that one. It gives you about 2,200. You don't have to do the whole 2,200, but at least it would give you an idea of what does an application question look like. Why is that important? Because say, for example, if a question is asking you to evaluate something, but some of the possible answers might be applying and creating, maybe. Well, those two can't be your answers because it's not asking you to apply and create, it's asking you to evaluate something. So as far as a test-taking strategy, you can say, well, it can't be these two because this is an analyzing one, this is an application one, but this is the evaluation answer to that question. So it's just a way to, if you really don't know, you can use some of these test-taking strategies to help you to answer the question. So we'll talk about this a little more in class as well. All right, so this will go over an hour more than likely. Actually, it is over an hour, but it's not 3 hours. And when you listen to this before next Wednesday, listen to it for maybe 30 minutes, then come back, listen to the other 30 minutes. Let's see. See if I missed anything. Remember to take advantage of your voiceovers. I mean, a lot of people out there on the roads now, while you're driving home, trying to pick up the kids and whatever, you can actually go on your phone, go to the YouTube, go to the modules and pull up the YouTube videos, and you can listen while you're driving, while you're washing clothes, while you're cooking, even when you go to bed. Some people tell me that my voice puts them to sleep. So anyway, you need to try to get that in as much as possible. Take advantage of your voiceovers. They don't let you record in class, so at least you have that opportunity to have something already recorded. Let's see, so I told you about how to upload some of your assignments. The modules are divided by the week. Again, look under, once you listen to this video, you look over your syllabus, go under quizzes, which is under your course tile, and scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you should see where you have to do your acknowledgement. Just answer a couple of questions, and we can complete that part of it. Let's see. All of your quizzes and exams will be probably under your course tile, but I'll let you know that at the time when you're testing. All right, so I want to go ahead and try to wrap this up. My main method of communication is email, mostly through Outlook. And I also like to document or place announcements in your HESI cohort tile. So you want to make sure your notifications are on so it can alert you because I do put out quite a bit of invaluable information. All right. I would like for you to also bring your laptops to class every Wednesday when you come to class. Especially if we have to take a test, we'll be in the computer lab, but just in case one of those computers are not working, you have your own. All right. Just make sure you know what your password and user ID is if you work on the school's laptops or computers. Also, if your exams are less than 78%, I want you to be prepared to attend an advising session with me. because I need you to inform me of what you plan to do to remediate that grade and how you plan to bring it up. Remember, all of your exams combined have to average out to be a 78% in order for you to get credit for anything else. All right. You don't want to do all those EAQs and HESI case studies and whatever the other assignments are, and come to find out you can't use those points because you're scoring in the 60s and 50s on these exams. All right. Lose, I didn't have time to prepare for this test. Lose that in your vocabulary, please. All right. I will also be holding review sessions for your exams. Sometimes I hold those in the evening because some of you might be in my long clinical time. I may hold it on maybe Tuesdays because Tuesdays are your short, clinical days. So I think you get off about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, and so we can hold something maybe around 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Come with your questions. I don't like when students come to the review sessions with no questions, and they expect for me to lecture all over again. If you do not come with your questions and there's silence, I'm going to end the review session. When you're doing your reading, take a red marker and underline what you do not understand. And when you come to class or you're in a review session, you can say, Dr. Weaver, can you please go over this particular section here on page whatever, paragraph whatever. But you want to underline something that is not clear to you. All right. And I think that's about it. Can't think of anything else, but if you all can, just direct your questions to me. And I'm sure I can get an answer for you at some point. I can't think of anything else. And my apologies for making this, allowing this to last longer. I just felt like I really had to go through discuss certain things with you to make life a little easier for you. So this will be about an hour and 15 minutes. So listen to it for 30, maybe 40 minutes, and go and do something else, and come back, listen to it again. But before class, I need you to listen to this orientation. Make your life a whole lot easier, and mine too. All right. So I'm going to sign off, and I will see you all on Wednesday at 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you all.